This is episode 100 of the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. Welcome to episode 100 of the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. Yeah, that's right. I just said it, 100. I can't believe that we're already at 100. Hasn't even been 2 years since starting the podcast. So thank you so much to everyone who's been supporting and listening along. It's been consistently growing and it's been really great to connect with so many people. Today, I have an awesome episode for you with Austin Mulder. Austin's a really sharp guy, very technically savvy when it comes to renovations. So we get into all kinds of reno hacks. He did a case study on a fourplex that he just created out of one unit, and he fully gutted the property. He talks about all the different things that he did to make that property great. He talks about the things he did to separate utilities, how he structured this investment so that it would be something that he would want to carry and hold in the long run, which is a philosophy that I have whenever I'm renovating something. I always just take that approach. If I was going to keep this long term, what would I want to do with it? Of course, we don't always do everything because there's very much cost prohibitive things that we could do that we probably won't. However, I like to take the reasonable actions to make any property great that I work on. And we really dig into some of those fundamentals today. Further into the episode, we talk about the fundamentals of commercial lending. So Austin actually works for BMO. He worked in commercial lending up until recently. And he talks about the fundamentals of how you can grow with unlimited growth. And he's actually been very helpful to a couple of people who have been on this podcast in helping them grow their portfolio to a very extreme degree. So it was really interesting to talk to him, get those fundamentals down and dig into it a little bit. So I'm confident that you're going to enjoy this if you have aspirations of growing your portfolio beyond what typical residential lenders are going to be on board with. As always, if you're new to this podcast, I recommend you do go back to the beginning and enjoy and gain value out of all the guests. We've had so many great ones on here right since the beginning, and all the content is relevant to today. It started right back in February of 2019, so still very relevant content. And if you haven't already, please leave a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell on YouTube. If you're listening on the podcast platform, I would greatly appreciate it if you would leave me a 5-star review on iTunes, Apple Podcasts. Please share this far and wide. I'd really appreciate it. So without further ado, please enjoy episode 100 with Austin Mulder. Here we go. Hello and welcome to the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. I have Austin Mulder on the show, and I've known Austin for quite some time. He was a frequent member of our meetup, and he's now finally on the podcast. Austin, thanks for being here.
Thank you. I think I actually went to every single one that you put on.
Did you? Yeah.
Well, they were still going.
Yeah, they were awesome. I missed that. Miss human connection.
Yeah. No. And thanks for having me on, and thanks for doing this. I know it's helped me immensely as far as growing my network, but probably the same for a lot of other people as well too. So thank you. Yeah,
I know. And without dropping names, there are several successful real estate investors that you've actually been able to help from a mortgage standpoint.
Yeah, through commercial lending and whatnot. Yeah. So, and those are connections made through the meetup. So that was good, and we were able to come up with some nice lending solutions for several people.
Yeah. So one of the reasons I wanted to have you on here is, we're going to talk about your real estate. I remember when you invited me out to see one of your conversions. So you took a single and turned it into 4 units, I believe.
Yeah. So we're actually just finishing that one up. It took a little while to get everything off the ground. COVID had a hand to play in that. But
you had to do a minor variance on that one, right?
There was a minor variance, lot coverage minor variance, and then also maneuvering room on one of the parking spaces. So I think you remember seeing it. The parking space that we fit in there. Yeah. It's incredible that we even got it passed. Okay. Because it's just snuck right in behind the house.
So just to break this down for people who don't understand the minor variance process. So the city has a requirement for a number of parking spaces, and you didn't quite meet their definition. So you were trying to get it through, we're close. Yeah. So you need to get a special approval for that. And the same thing for the lot area. You said lot coverage, you were over your coverage?
Yeah, substantially over it actually. So the house occupies about, I'm going to say probably 80% of the lot.
Right? 80% of the lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and some of your listeners might be familiar with the house, because I know that there was several other investors that were looking at it when it was on the market, right?
There's probably a few people who listen to this and watch this that were bidding on it.
Yeah, exactly.
That didn't get it.
No, exactly. So, but it required a lot of work. We actually gutted the entire house down to the double brick. So on these old century brick houses in Hamilton, you're familiar. They're constructed with essentially 2 layers of brick.
Yeah.
And then the floor joists are set
in the brick?
into the brick.
Yeah. Okay. So one of those.
Yeah. So we took everything out except for the stairs, the floors, and the walls.
Yeah. So you re-insulated, rewired, did everything.
Yeah. And we did a pretty cool installation detail. This is, we're planning on having this, and I guess I should say who
we is.
Yeah. So I work with my cousin Mitchell. We've been working since my second house that we purchased together, and we kind of work hand in hand. He's very skilled when it comes to renovations and managing projects and whatnot. So he's generally working on a lot of the sites and managing trades and whatnot. And then I'm dealing with financing, acquisition, planning, design work.
You do some of the work on the weekends.
I do, yeah.
Oh man, I remember walking in there. I'm like, wow, this looks like fun. A lot of work, but fun. I love walking into those old houses and you're just like, how am I going to make this work? That's one of the most fun things for me because it's profit and creativity in one.
Well, exactly, right? So this was an excellent example of a project like that. So we were trying to figure out, okay, we have and this is generally how we approach most of our projects, is find something that's underutilized and add value, right? So we were looking at this and we're like, well, it's a 2,600 square foot house. How do we take that and create more units? Yeah. Right. But also do it in a way where the units are nice, right? Mm-hmm. And then they're safe and people want to live in them.
Well, yeah. And you want to get like your fire inspections, make sure it's all done right. I think you did proper fire separation between all the units.
Yeah. We go above and beyond, mostly not for fire, but for sound.
Yeah. Because you don't want to, you'll lose your tenants if there's not good sound separation.
Yeah. So anyone that has been doing this for any period of time, they'll tell you that the number one complaint they get is sound, right? From tenants. So we actually went even a step further and removed all the ductwork in the house. Okay. And we did ductless mini splits everywhere.
You did ductless mini splits, so no central furnace.
There's no central furnace, no central AC or anything. Yeah. Because that's one of the major culprits of sound transmission.
It's through the ductwork.
It's through the ductwork, right?
Mm-hmm. And it allows you to separate the power a lot better. So now you got separate electric. So what's common? Is there any gas in the house?
There is gas
for the hot water.
For the hot water. Yeah. So we did on-demand hot water. Mm-hmm. But aside from that, like the heating, air conditioning, all of that's on the tenants now, right? So it wasn't even that much more expensive because we had to rejig all the ductwork if we were going to keep it anyways, right?
So you found your HVAC tech locally, or is this a friend of yours?
So he was a referral. We actually ran the line sets ourselves.
Oh, for the power.
For the refrigerant lines.
Oh, you ran the lines and he just came in and charged them?
And they charged them and hooked them all up, right?
Okay. I didn't know you could get into that. I guess all that has to happen is they need to be willing to
we just needed to find someone that was willing to actually connect them. Yeah. So, and
They're touchy about these things sometimes.
Yeah. So the reason, I don't know if it's something that we do again, but the reason that we did do it is there's a lot of head units in the house, and that would mean a lot of line sets running on the outside of the house.
All right, so let's go through this. So a ductless mini split is that unit on the wall, which you control with a remote. You set the temperature. It can do heat and it can do cold. It works like an air conditioner in the summer, and it works in reverse in the winter.
It's very impressive, actually, how efficient these are.
They are quite efficient, yeah. So I guess let's go to basics. Is there only one outside condenser unit for the entire house?
No, there's 3.
3.
Yeah.
Okay, because I just saw a house that had only one. They had the wall units in every single room, but they only had one actual condenser unit outside.
So depending on the manufacturer, you can get them up to where they'll run 5 indoor head units on one condenser on the outside. Yeah. But you'll get like large. They'll get larger as they go.
Yeah, right? You need a big space outside for them.
Yeah. Okay, we actually mounted it up on the wall. Of the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, because again, we don't have a a lot space.
You have no space there.
Yeah. And we didn't want it going somewhere where a car was supposed to be parking, right?
Efficiency. Okay, so for those who aren't familiar with these, the one concern with them is if it gets really cold outside, they struggle a little bit with heat. Yeah. You can get ones that are more efficient, like up to like minus 25, which would be a pretty extreme day here.
Yeah, these ones, 75% efficiency up to minus 30.
Okay, so you're doing just fine on those. So it'll still heat. You're not going to freeze up, unless we get minus 50 for 10 days straight or something like that.
Well, exactly. And to deal with that scenario, we put supplemental baseboard heating.
Okay, so you have just in case heating if needed, but that'll stay off for the most part.
Yeah, for the most part, it's not like baseboard resistance heating is not super efficient.
Probably more super inefficient.
Yeah, exactly. But we have it there, so if one of them conks out,
I got you.
They have the ability to. But they are pretty, like, there's a good warranty on these things, right? So, but we just looked at it and we're like, the electricians are there anyways. It's $50 basically. For them to run
I don't blame you. I have them in one of my houses. It's like an old, similar to what you're describing. In the loft, I have baseboard heating up there because the ductwork doesn't actually go up there.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why that house doesn't have air conditioning is because the ductwork is just, it's older. But yeah, sometimes you want to have that just as a supplement. I don't think there's anything wrong, but people, like buyers, kind of freak out sometimes when they see it. But at least if they see those ductless mini splits, they know, okay, you're fine. And the tenant's paying the electric.
So we have to explain that to the tenants is that wall unit is incredibly efficient, right? That's just in case.
This is just in case. Yeah, we'll leave that off. You leave that off. Yeah. This is only if you get minus 50 and you need it.
And we also insulated the crap out of this house.
Right, so they're not even really going to need it.
No, exactly.
This is the best of both worlds when you get into an old century home, which is beautiful, and then you got the inside, which is the part that you don't want, and just redo it. Yeah. Do it up modern, but you have that character. Like, I've been talking to my wife about it. Like, we wouldn't mind building our own just like that. Like, no one builds houses like that anymore. I'd love to.
No, I think it'd be really sweet to build like a double brick house and then build it to today's efficiency standards.
It doesn't even need to be double brick, but as long as you got that outside and like the nice arches over the windows, like the soldier, what do they call them? Soldier courses?
Yeah, it's a soldier course on that. Yeah.
So, listen to me and a little terminology.
But yeah, just to touch briefly on the insulation detail that we did is, and this is actually the cheapest.
Did you spray the walls?
No. So spray foam, like, cheapest you get is about $4 a foot,
depending on the R value you're trying to get.
Exactly, right? So we came up with a detail that was 2 inches of rigid foam, and we were able to do this because we were reframing the whole inside of the house.
So you did rigid foam right on the brick.
So continuous R10 rigid foam.
So 2 layers. So that's R20.
Well,
2 layers to get R10.
1 layer of 2-inch rigid foam R10.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we did our framing.
Okay, and then you stuffed it
2x4 on 24 centers, not load bearing, so we can do 24 centers. And then we did our 14 bats in there.
Okay, so you got yourself to
R24.
R24. So 2 inches gave you R10. Yeah, and then you did the rest with bats. Yeah.
So it's R24, but it's also a truer R24 than if you were doing a 2x6 framed wall.
Well, it's because they call it continuous bridging. They call it continuous insulation, so that's newer building code. They want you to have a continuous piece of insulation. So with studs, you actually have breaks in your insulation because a stud isn't really considered insulation. So that's why they want that piece to go outside of it. Yeah. So this is what your engineer, well, not your engineer, but your designer called for.
Yeah, well, I don't think technically we needed to go to that level because it was a retro fit, right? Right. Like it was a renovation.
But if you're going to keep it, it's not a bad idea.
This is our philosophy is we're looking at building something that we'd like to have in our portfolio for 30 years. Yeah. Right. So we'd like it to be built so efficiently now that it's going to stand up to efficiency standards in 30 years. Yeah. Right.
Well, it makes a lot of sense, and I can't say that I do it any differently. Like anything I buy, like I don't really like to flip much, but even if I do, I just want it done right.
Like, so the cost on that detail too was cheaper than spray foaming at our 14. Yeah. Right. So the cost on that detail, now this is pre-COVID, so I'm not sure if the prices have inflated yet, but was it $160 a foot on that detail?
$160 a foot.
Yeah.
Okay.
For both of the layers
total
of insulation. Yeah.
I like how you've broken it down. I used to do that. Yeah. Now I just look at the global cost of things and I kind of average them out. Like I'm all about finding shortcuts to figure out your costs.
Well, and that's so insulation isn't a small expense in a large project like this either, right? So if you're able to save 50% on that or even more, right? It's a good way to find some cost savings. And you can do the same thing with flooring, maybe not lumber right now, but other things, right?
Yeah, I again love those problems. I mean, when I was doing one of my more recent projects, and I had the vaulted ceiling, I was trying to figure out, okay, am I going to do spray foam on the deck, or am I going to do bats with creative little channels? So I made these creative little channels for airflow that basically out of cardboard and little pieces of strapping. to just create, a 1 or 2 inch channel for air to flow up.
Yeah.
Things like that. So that'll preserve my roof, and it'll make sure that my roof and insulation system works together properly.
That's something that's really important to do anytime you're finishing even loft spaces.
Airflow.
Right? Is you need to make sure that otherwise your shingles are just going to roast.
Yeah, I've seen shingles that only lasted 6 years. A house that I bought, they literally had it on the listing. They're like, new roof in 2010. I bought it in 2016, and the shingles were curling. I'm like, your shingles lasted 6 years. There's something wrong up there.
Yeah, exactly.
So again, I just love learning about that stuff. So I would get talking to my insulation guy. He's like, well, here's how you should do that. And man, I've learned so many things from that guy. He's helped me to do things so much better and more efficiently.
Yeah, I believe it.
So there's definitely a time and place for spray foam, but it's pretty expensive.
Yeah, in an application like that, there are little foam things that you can get to sit in the joist that naturally do that. And
yeah,
I think
baffle vents.
Yeah, and I think you could spray foam over top of those. But
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so he would say, and now we're dorking out, but I'm okay with this.
I love this too, by the way.
He would say, spray the deck. Don't worry about it. If you insulate it, you won't get that hot pocket underneath the roof that heats up the shingles. So if you sprayed the bottom of the deck, he actually has told me you don't even need airflow.
Really?
But I would usually find myself, in a situation where I'm not spraying the whole thing. So then I'm going to have parts with bat. So I make sure I have continuous airflow.
Yeah.
For anyone who doesn't like this dorking out, don't worry about it. We're going to get back to talking about real estate. I like mixing it up though. And I think it's cool to have you're very hands-on. I know you were in there, talking about the nuts and bolts that go into making a house really great.
Yeah.
So let's go through some of the things that you did. So maybe if you have pictures of it, fire them to me, and
we can share them here.
I might overlay them on the video as we're talking about them. So 2.5 story, right?
2.5 stories. So
okay.
There's a unit in the basement, unit on the first floor, unit on the second floor, and unit in the third floor.
And you did a hallway on the one side, or stairwell on the one side that's fully fire separated, so you can walk all the way up to the top floor.
So there's a couple of other details that we did to just kind of go above and beyond. We did staggered stud framing in that hallway. Mm-hmm. Now that's another. I can send you a picture to insert here, so people can see what we mean by that. But it's just another sound attenuation technique, whereby you're separating the drywall, decoupling the drywall on either side,
creating dead airspace,
so that when people are walking up that hallway,
don't hear it.
You're not going to hear it while you're trying to watch a movie with your girlfriend or whatever. Yeah. Right.
It's so critical. I have one house that the furnace room's right next to a bedroom, and the guy's just saying, oh, we can't sleep every time that furnace comes on. It's so loud. Yeah. I went in and I just stuffed the whole wall with rock salt. Yeah. Because it was all open on the inside of the furnace room. And then he's like, yeah, it's a million times better. I love coming up with those solutions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. And it's fun. Yeah. Mitchell and I both really enjoy it. Yeah. We'll have our little speed brainstorming sessions whenever we have a problem. And it's just both of us on site, and we'll hash out every single possible solution. And usually within 20 minutes, we can come up with what we're doing.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
But yeah, so that's how we had it divided up. Luckily, the third floor loft, the half story on the top floor, it's framed in such a way that the ceiling rafters don't start at the floor level. It's framed up.
Oh, okay.
A little bit.
So it's even more than a half story there.
Yeah. So in certain parts, it's a little bit more than a half story.
Are there dormers in that? I've been up there, but I don't remember.
Yeah. There's a couple. Well, it's kind of it's not your typical 2.5 in Hamilton. Yeah. It's a little bit more of a square, less than a rectangle. So there's some interesting roof lines on it, which lended itself pretty well to putting a bathroom, bedroom, and
so what do you have on the top floor? Because usually the top floors are pretty tight.
Yeah, so we actually have a full 1-bedroom, 3-piece bath with a stand-up shower.
Do you have a slope ceiling in your shower?
No. We were able to orient it in such a way where it's a full shower. Yeah. But the bathroom vanity doesn't have a mirror, so you have to look, because that's where the vanity falls on that, right? So that's the one thing. And then another interesting thing that we had to sort of solve for was the kitchen is just a bank. There's no uppers.
No uppers. Okay. Yeah, because you can't, because of the slope.
Yeah. Now, this was another problem that we had to deal with, was how do you vent a stove?
Yeah, you can do it with like a bathroom fan kind of event.
So the issue is that the CFM, like you're maxing out, and again, we're going to get nerdy on details here.
I like it.
But the CFM on bathroom fans, unless you're spending like an insane amount, like usually maxes out around 200 CFM.
Yeah.
Right now we have a gas stove up there, right?
Really? Okay.
And on a gas stove, you typically need 100 CFM per 10,000 BTU.
Okay.
Right. So it's a 24-inch gas stove. But that being said, you still want at least like 350 CFM. Yeah. So I found something that I could kind of recess into the rafter space and then built a box around it. And it actually looks pretty decent. Surprisingly. And it's a 390 CFM that I got for, I think it was like $300.
If you remember, send me a picture of that.
Yeah, I'll send you a picture of it. Yeah. So our taper's finishing that up right now. Yeah. So we just covered it in drywall. We might do a nice wood detail around it, but we're not sure yet.
Yeah, they're one of the guys that works for me a lot. He always says this: if you can't hide it, accent it.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
I always remember that. I always throw it back at him. I'm like, well, we need a solution here. Yeah. What kind of accent are we going to throw on that? It's fun problems. I never had really so much fun in business as I did when I started renovating houses.
Yeah.
I don't know. Not everybody maybe relates to that, but I certainly think it's cool.
We enjoy it, and that's kind of why we do this for freedom and enjoyment. So
So you ended up redoing your windows as well, right? Windows and doors all new.
Yeah.
Shingles?
No, we will be redoing those.
Okay.
The shingles are fine. I just don't like their color.
Okay. I've actually ripped shingles off for a color. Yeah. It didn't fit with what I was doing.
So we went and we replaced every single window in this house. Yeah. Thank you for the referral for your window guy, Andrew Hines. Shout out.
Yeah.
But yeah, we replaced everything. And then, so the windows are black. It's like your typical black windows with the red brick. Yeah. It's really nice.
Oh, it's a really nice look. Yeah.
But all of our fascia and troughs and soffits are white. Fascia and troughs are that black brown.
Too?
Yeah.
So you're going to convert that all.
I'm also not a fan of the aluminum work that they did. Like it's not fantastic. That's probably going to be next year that we do that. Yeah. It's not essential for the appraisal that we're going to be getting shortly.
Well, they're going to look at what you did on the inside and they're going to say, okay,
exactly,
we like that. Right?
So, and then the curb appeal is still there with just the black windows, but I would like it to be all the soffit and fascia to be black.
It gets really expensive when you go colored windows. I don't know how much more expensive it was for you.
I think it added 15% for us.
15%. Yeah. Did you do like grills and all the windows as well, or
grills
like the grids of
lines? No. In hindsight, I might have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They do add some nice character to a place.
Yeah, and we're obviously working in Hamilton. We're pretty big fans of the character that Hamilton has, like the historical character that Hamilton has, and we like to preserve that as much as possible.
Yeah.
So looking at it, we did do the double windows, right? So it's not like we put big ginormous casement windows in. So we did just do a double.
Yeah, like a single hung. Yeah.
So that maintains some element of that character because that's traditional of the neighborhood. But it would have been nice to do the cross on some.
Oh yeah. You don't need those. Are just extras at that point. But I like it when every once in a while you got a property. You're like, this is the property I'm going to splurge on. I'm going to do everything the way it should be. So you guys fully gutted it, re-insulated it, new plumbing, everying came out.
Literally
every last piece. Every last piece comes out, and then you're working with something that is essentially a new house.
Yeah.
So did you waterproof the basement?
Yep.
Yeah, waterproofed it. Like did all the things that you're supposed to do. Because you would probably get water in that basement, right? It's what is it, fieldstone or was it?
Yeah, it's fieldstone. Yeah, there was actively water coming through. Yeah,
so like water's just
points.
They say that they weep, right? Like you're just always going to have water come in. So if you can catch it on the inside and drain it out, that's
we're going to be able to solve some of that with grading. And just some of and that's a note to the viewers as well. Is a lot of the times it can be solved with grading.
Yeah, like your biggest culprits for the water, and I've obviously said this before, but trees around your place, and then, not taking the downspouts away from the house. But trees are the biggest, because if your eaves troughs fill up and plug, then water dumps down the side of your house, and now you got water in the basement.
Yeah, we had a landscaper too that was out there doing some work, and while he was there, we had him put some big old pipe out to the street from the one main downspout.
Yeah.
So we're rerouting that out of the tiling.
Yeah, getting it away from the house.
Getting it out way away from the house, like at least 10 feet away out onto the street, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to be doing that with all of them. And that's a great way to, a lot of water problems come from that, right? Mm-hmm. Improper grading, the tile being broken or not draining properly, right?
Well, those old clay tiles, like the houses that had the eaves troughs dropping into the clay tiles, like they would often have plugs and breakages underneath the ground, and generally they just were considered to not be effective at getting water away. And then if you're just dumping water down next to your foundation, that kind of sucks.
Yeah, you're just asking for trouble, right?
So not really the way you want it.
Yeah, we waterproofed, threw a sump pit in.
Yeah. So you did it all. Okay, so let's get into some of these numbers, because this sounds like a really nice place. Like this is the type of place that I would want to hold in my portfolio long term.
Yeah, and that's why we went. So when we were doing our projections, like the initial breakdown of the project, we knew that this was going to be something that was going to cash flow pretty well. Right? Yeah. Not something we're going to ever really want to get rid of, right? It's going to be a golden goose in the portfolio. So we went above and beyond on a lot of things on it.
Well, and it's affordable housing for people, right? You've got a variety of sizes of units. So you have super small units for those with a really low budget, and then you've got bigger units in there. There's quite a bit of space overall, right? Even your basement's probably 500, 600 square feet?
Yeah, it's about 500 square feet.
Yeah. The actual unit itself.
Yeah. And it's gorgeous.
Yeah, like a really nice. What's the ceiling height there?
So ceiling height is it's got to be close to, it's about 7 feet in the one spot. Mm-hmm. And then there's the raised section. So someone had actually dug and underpinned a section of the basement already, and that's where the living room and bedroom set.
Okay.
And then we did on the portion where it wasn't, that's where we put the kitchen. Now I can still stand up comfortably in that kitchen.
And you're pretty tall. You're He's 6'1", 6'2"?
6'3". Yeah. So we oriented the one counter to come over that edge and create a bar.
All right.
So now they have a built-in bar for dining.
Very cool.
And it just kind of works with the heights in the basement. Really interesting.
Again, if you remember, send me these pictures, and I will overlay them. Hopefully, I'm not over promising and under delivering.
Yeah, we'll probably do a walkthrough video too with our videographer and whatnot.
That'd be cool. Yeah, and then if you ever put that on YouTube or something, I can put a link in the description if somebody's listening to this down the road.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's crunch the numbers on this. What'd you buy for?
$435 was the purchase price.
All right, and then your renovations.
It's going to be with servicing, because it's expensive money that we did this with.
Yeah.
$225.
Yeah, $225. So including carrying costs.
Yeah.
All right, so that's purchase and renovation for $660,000.
Yeah.
Including your carrying. Okay, so your new value on this, what do you figure your value is?
$900.
$900. Yeah. So for those who haven't heard, the Sandy McKay talked about this style of building, as well as his partner Adrian. Yeah, they both do this style of property. They were probably looking at this too.
Yeah,
but they didn't get it. All right, so just looking at those numbers, if you do happen to get 80% of your new 900 valuation,
which we already have the mortgage approval for.
So you have the mortgage approval, you just need the appraisal to confirm it. Yeah.
So we're just putting a bow on it, and then we'll probably be getting it appraised hopefully before New Year's.
Okay.
And then refi it.
So you're in for 660, new value 600 or 900. You'd be getting a new mortgage of 720,000 and pulling out 60,000 on top of all the money you've got in.
Yeah.
So you're getting paid 60 grand to keep the property, which is the way we want to invest when we're. Then we just got to find a place for the money.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, but that's.
I don't have an issue doing that. As Mitchell will tell you.
Yeah, I'll help you out. I'll take some of it from you.
Exactly.
Don't worry. Okay, so what's your rent roll going to look like here?
So we're predicting. So we actually have already tenants for the basement and loft unit.
Okay.
Now that one's going to be inclusive utilities at $1,200.
Mm-hmm. So the $1,200 for the basement.
$1,200 for the basement. $1,200 for the loft.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So $2,400 there, and then on the main floor, it's going to be probably $1,600. It's a 1-bedroom.
Okay, we'll say $1,500.
$1,500 plus utilities.
Okay.
And then the second floor, we're aiming for $1,650, probably $1,700 for a 1-bedroom.
We'll say you're gonna get your $1,700. Okay, so gross rent's gonna be $5,600.
So I should probably explain why the second floor 1-bedroom unit is gonna rent for $1,700. It has over top of the porch. There's a really nice office sunroom type thing, right?
Okay.
And then the bedroom has a large walk-in closet.
Okay.
And then the bathroom's also huge, and it has a huge walk-in shower and everything. So we're going to be looking for like sort of executive tenants on that one.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
All right. So let's crunch some more numbers here. So taxes, what do you figure you're going to be into?
1 cent pack figures out that we've renoed it. I don't know. I think it'll probably be, I would say $350 a month, 400 probably.
Okay, so if it's $400 a month, that's $4,800 in a year. Okay. Insurance, you're probably into almost $3,000.
We have it bundled with other properties in our portfolio, so it's going to be about 150.
Okay, so 150 times 12, you're kidding me, 1,800? That's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right.
Now that's so it's offset by other. Yeah.
Okay. I try the same. I haven't done quite that well, but it's not student rental use either, so that kind of helps.
Exactly.
All right, so maintenance. What do you want to budget here for that?
So I'll generally budget. So it's on a new build, and this kind of goes into lending, right? But on if something's freshly renovated like this, I'll probably budget 2%.
2%? Okay.
On maintenance.
I'm going to budget 5%, but...
Okay. Now, I also do a structural reserve.
Like a capital expenditure reserve? Yeah. Okay, so I try and build them in. So sometimes I'll even go to 10%, just account for that future roof job coming, that future furnace replacement. Yeah. You're doing it all right now, so I totally get the intention to just kind of minimize it because, at the end of the day.
Yeah, like I do... On this particular project, if I'm running numbers, I would do 2% on maintenance and like a 4% structural reserve.
Okay, so we'll just call it a 6% then to include like kind of your capital expenditure upgrades and your annual maintenance. Okay, so then utilities, we're going to have, let's kind of break it down. You're going to have water for the whole house, which is probably going to be like $150 a month, you think?
Yeah, probably.
150 times 12. And then you're going to have gas for the water heaters, which maybe going to be $75 a month.
I'd say that's probably reasonable.
And that's one common meter, right? Yeah.
So to me, this is a bit of a no-brainer. Reliance will rent you a ginormous on-demand water heater for $43 a month or something like that.
Okay.
And it's
servicing all 4 units?
Servicing all 4 units.
All right. Did you have to upgrade the size of your water service coming into the house?
No, it was 3/4.
3/4 is
already.
Enough?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So we've got 75 times 12. We've got 150 times 12. And then we're going to have 2 electrical services for 2 units that are on your dime. So
it's one service on that.
Okay. One service for the up and the lower.
Yeah. And then common.
Okay. So probably, what do you want to figure? Like 150, 180?
I think 150 is probably reasonable because the stoves in those units are gas.
All right. So we'll do 150 times 12.
And we also have a common laundry room, so we might want to account for some of that. But that I would just have consider that offset by the laundry income.
Oh, you have laundry income.
Yeah, we're going to be putting coin machines in there.
All right, so we won't even mention that for now. So I mean, I'm coming up with about $4,500 a year in utilities.
Yeah.
Time will tell if that's enough. I mean, say your worst case, you're at 5,000. Again, you'll have to kind of see how it plays out. Are you budgeting anything for management, or you're just doing it yourself?
Like if I was proposing this to someone, I would budget it for management. So I would put in like an 8% management figure just to come up with a real NOI, right?
Yeah, I got you. I mean, we can always throw that in after. I'm just trying to get an assessment.
It'll be self-managed.
Yeah, self-managed.
Yeah. It's because I'm a 5-minute drive away from the property.
Lawn cutting and snow removal.
I'll likely get that hired out. It'll probably be, I would consider it about $100 a month.
Yeah, that's what I budget. So $1,200 a year.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I just like to throw in 500 miscellaneous.
It's a very small lawn, though.
Yeah, very small. So it's more snow. It's more the big
snow.
Thing.
That's the concern. And that being said, I'm partial to writing that into people's leases.
Yeah.
Right. So
I hear you.
If it's your parking spot, it's your obligation to clear it.
Right, and I do that too. So I have a duplex where I do that. So I've sectioned up the lawn in the lease. Like this part's yours, this part's the other guy's.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does actually work quite well.
Yeah.
You know, you've got a spot, they've got 2 spots, you know, clear your spot, clear your laneway. Done.
Yeah. And this person clears the front, this person clears the back. Right?
Yeah, so that works. So that's something you could probably manage to outsource. All right, let's break down your financial your loan numbers here. So $900,000 valuation, that cap rate, so based on your operating income of 48,000 here, what I've got, I have a 3% vacancy in here as well.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Okay, and I've got a 5.37 cap rate, which no one really gets these days.
Yeah.
So that's always cool. And then your debt coverage ratio.
Is that with management?
No management in there. So if you want to see how that, if you want to see how that equates, if you did an 8% management, then your cap rate's going to be down to 4.78,
which I think is more reasonable. Now people will pay a
4.78 cap.
Yeah.
In that price point is where it gets tougher, because then less people have the ability to buy something in that price range. They don't have the down payment saved up, but it's still totally doable. But let's just go at your real numbers here. So what kind of mortgage rate are you getting?
So that's what I was just about to pull up, is the
like
approval.
A 2.2 or something?
I think it's a 2.15.
2.15? Okay. 30 year?
Let's just see here. Ashton. Yeah, shout out to Ashton and Josh from Synergy.
Okay.
It's a 5-year at, it's 2 point. Doesn't even have it here. It just has the payment.
I think
2,700 is the
2,700 is your payment.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you're around 2.1 then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're around 2.15.
I think it's around 2.15.
I'm getting 2712. Yeah. So at 2.15, that's a 2712 a month payment. Your cash flow on that bad boy is 1317 according to these numbers.
Yeah.
And actually, if you maintain it well and you don't get any vacancy, you're going to do even better than that.
Yeah.
And
no vacancies, and if there's no
significant maintenance,
like
like we've got a $4,000 buffer in here for maintenance that might come up. But if you don't turn over, I realize that the maintenance numbers I put in are not actually going to happen most years.
Yeah.
It's just for the year that it does happen.
Well, exactly,
all.
right?
Yeah.
And it's about painting an accurate picture of the property.
Of how that property performs, yeah.
One of my pet peeves is when you'll see an agent that posts whether a building or a house or something, and then they'll say, oh, it's a 5 cap, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then they send me the numbers, and it's like, there's no maintenance, there's no management, there's none of this.
Yeah, you can't do that when you're selling a property. But the thing is, I say you can't do that. If people buy it, then I guess they can do that.
You can, but I just get a little perturbed when they call it NOI when it's not really the NOI.
It's not true. Right? Yeah, it's misleading, but I guess it's just frustrating for us real estate investors that have, cash flow standards that we insist upon. But it's part of the game we play, I suppose. So now what I've noticed is a very clear distinction that realtors do not care about cap rates in Hamilton. It is simply about number of doors. And they're pricing
price per door.
They're pricing price per door now because they know that the cap rates are absolute trash.
Yeah.
And they understand that investors are willing to pay, so they just stop talking about cap rates.
Well, yeah, and in a market like Hamilton, where you have a lot of buildings that are severely under rented, when you are marketing these properties, you're anticipating future value, right?
Yeah. So it's turned in completely to future value. But the challenge with that is it's the person that buys it that's taking all the risk to add the value. But again, in our market where there's such a short supply of homes for sale, homes for rent, there's just so many people willing to buy. So that's the market we're in.
Yeah.
We just got to play that game.
Yeah, exactly.
So looking at these numbers, breaking them down a little further, I've got a 3% appreciation in here. Obviously, we've done better than that. You're probably going to do better than that.
Yeah.
Pay down on an annual basis about $18,000 on your mortgage, and then your cash flow on an annual basis is just short of $16,000. So that's $61,000 in return on an annual basis, and we can't calculate a return on investment because you don't have one.
Yeah.
So that's pretty solid.
I think we should, there should be an acknowledgement of the time that we did put into it.
Yeah, so there is an investment.
Like Mitchell has worked very hard on that house,
and for no pay, right?
Well, exactly.
Hey guys, I just wanted to take a moment and give a shout out to a couple of very important local businesses to me. As you know, this lockdown has been tough on everyone, and small businesses have been taking the brunt of it. So there's 2 specific businesses I wanted to give a shout out to. This is a completely unpaid promotion. They didn't ask me to do this, but I wanted to give them a shout out because I think they're really important and I want to see them be successful. So one is New York Men's Grooming Lounge here in Burlington, Ontario. I always see Sergio every month. They do a fantastic job. Their atmosphere there is fantastic. There's usually some Frank Sinatra playing in the background. They're a great establishment, even if you just want to go in and have an espresso or have a beer and chat. It really is a lounge and social location, which is just such a unique concept in today's market. Really like those guys. I really want to see them succeed. If you're looking for a fantastic men's haircut and grooming experience, I highly recommend them. The next one I wanted to give a shout out to is Dr. Mike White over at the Momentum Health Clinic in Hamilton. Dr. Mike has been able to help me many times over the years when I've hurt my back. He's a chiropractor, so I'd be in a position where I couldn't even walk, I couldn't turn. I was in an agonizing pain, and I'd go to Dr. Mike, and usually I'm 100% better within a week. Now, I know it's a touchy thing with a medical service, so always, always, always consult with your medical professional before seeking any form of treatment. I just wanted to let you know my experience here, and I certainly think Mike White is worth considering. I've included the details for both of these contacts in my show notes. Please show them support if you see fit. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So every investor is going to approach this differently, but at the end of the day, like it's all how you want to analyze properties, and as long as you're being consistent. But yeah, if you really wanted to say, what's my return on investment? It's just not in dollars. It was in time.
Well, exactly.
And you could convert. You could say anything I put time in, I'm billing myself out on paper at 40 an hour or 50 an hour or 100 an hour. And I want to make a return based on that. So you could say, well, we've got 1,000 hours at $100 an hour or whatever in, and we put that in your, instead of in lieu of a down payment, we could just put that in. So,
well, and Mitchell and I are very cognizant of that too. Like, what is our time worth? And we each have our numbers, and where we kind of hold each other to that, where if we can pay someone to do something for less than what our time is worth spending doing it, then we're doing that all day long. But the issue is that there's certain things on projects where it's still not worth paying someone to do something.
Yeah,
right?
I gotcha.
Like, so for instance, on Saturday, we were up on the roof putting a vent in.
Yeah.
It took Mitchell and I less than an hour to put 2 roof vents in, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know who we could have paid less than $500 to do that.
So you're saying, just because it's a small job. I mean, so if you wanted to look at it and say, like I said, if you were $100 an hour is how you value your time, maybe the two of you have 1,000 hours into that project.
Yeah.
That's $100,000 investment. So if you add that to land transfer and your legals to buy it, that's $116,000 in, and you could call that your sweat labor. So then your return calculated on that is 52%.
Yeah.
Return on investment.
Exactly. So which is still great.
It's still great.
Right.
So for anyone who didn't follow that, fear not. Like, you don't need to go into that. That's it's a little bit more of a sophisticated look at your return.
Yeah.
But I think that's a valid.
I think it's important though for people to look at it like that.
You have to value your time.
Everyone should be looking at their time as unless it's something you're doing as a leisure activity. And I always qualify this, right?
Leisure is different.
If it's something that you enjoy doing, right? Like cutting the grass, for instance, that's something I actually enjoy doing.
Like if it's a peaceful experience for you.
It's cathartic for me, right? Call it. So I don't approach it in that sense. Yeah. But if it's something that I'm trading my time
if you
for
hate doing it, yeah. So it does. If it recharges you, that's different.
Exactly. Right?
Yeah. So I'm with you there, and I like to evaluate it from this standpoint. Like, I've done some work myself, but I wanted to. And I occasionally do really enjoy doing the work myself, but I always look at it. What could I pay somebody else to do this for?
Bookkeeping is something that we're doing. We're going to be hiring a part-time bookkeeper this coming year because Mitchell and I both hate it.
Yeah. See, if you hate it, you got to acknowledge that, right?
Yeah. And Tony Robbins said something. I was on a conference or something one time. He said something. The biggest lie that our generation has been told is that you need to focus on the things that you're bad at and improve at those. Yeah. You should get rid of those things. If you're bad at something, find out a way to get someone that's good at it to do it for you.
Yeah, and focus on your strengths
and focus on your strengths, because that's really when you're going to excel, right?
Yeah, and I see two sides to that, because on one hand, I have this, and I don't mean to sound pessimistic, view of humanity that we've all become quite useless because we have Amazon that delivers to our door, and I would love to see us get back to people can actually do things and build things with their hands, and I think that's important for me. Like, I want to do that, but I agree with you. If you're just not resonating with something that you're doing, why push that?
Yeah, exactly.
Find somebody else to do it. Great advice. Sometimes easier said than done, but great advice.
Yeah, I'm guilty of violating that too, right?
Well, you have to have trust for somebody that they're going to do it better for you. I mean, I think I was blessed in the fact that I had no significant experience in hands-on renovations, because I never really felt inclined that I should be the one doing them.
That's the uphill battle Mitchell and I are fighting right now.
Because you guys are pretty good at it. You feel like
we can do everything ourselves, right?
Yeah.
So it's been a learning process over the past year, and hearing other people that I've networked with and mentors being like, why are you doing that? right?
Yeah.
Like what are you doing? Yeah, exactly. Right.
All right. So I don't want to run out of time here to talk about lending, because so one of the things we talked about when you first showed up at one of these meetups was that you do work for BMO at the moment, and that you do commercial lending.
I do, yeah.
And we talked about this, and you kind of opened my eyes to the possibilities of how so normally commercial applies if you have 5 doors or more, right?
Yeah.
But you said, well, if you had a triplex and a duplex, well, there you go. Now you got 5 doors. We could actually finance those commercially.
Yeah.
Could you explain for us the difference between commercial and residential financing?
Yeah. So commercial finance, with commercial financing, a lot of people are like, oh, it no longer matters what you make personally, right?
Yeah.
That's not necessarily true. I'd say that's a bit of a misconception, but the primary focus is still on the property, right? We look at you because we want to make sure that you're still going to be you're not going to be relying on that specific property.
Yeah. The big thing is you don't need the property to pay for your living.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So the banks typically, when you get into commercial lending, they look at the debt servicing figure. Right. Yeah. So a good benchmark for residential real estate is 1.2 or 1.25. Yeah.
Right. So just so everyone knows, it's under the commercial lending division, but you still lend on residential properties. So it could be multi-residential falls under commercial lending division.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the differentiation there. So normal residential is like retail banking, to go into like the normal, branch of BMO and ask for a mortgage on your home. Those people in the bank would not touch, an eightplex.
No, exactly.
That would be in your department.
There's a lot of rules surrounding that, and there's also a capital allocation. They need to be allocating it based on the type of assets that they're financing and whatnot. Okay. So, but with the debt servicing ratio, that's your debt servicing commitments, so your mortgage payments, over your income. Or your income over your debt servicing.
So in this case, for the example with Austin's, if they wanted to apply a debt coverage ratio, we would take his $48,000 of operating income. So that's his rents less all his expenses and the vacancy and the maintenance. And then we divide that by his annual mortgage payments, which are $32,000. And we get a 1.48 debt service ratio. So 1.48 to 1. So
now, is that with management?
No, if we want to throw the management in, because this is where the bank won't accept that I manage it myself. Well, they're going to build a number in for you. So we're going to throw 8% in there. So with management, Austin, you still qualify. You're at 1.32 debt service ratio.
Exactly, and that's good. Right?
So you're at a really good number. Most people buying most rental properties today are not even able to hit the 1.2.
Yeah, and that's the difficulty with a lot of multifamily purchases that are going on right now, right? So you'll have people that are purchasing at a very compressed cap rate, like 3.5% based on current cash flows, right?
And I think you're being generous. I think people are buying less. I think people are buying in the 2s, which is insane.
Yeah, exactly. So you have people that are just fighting to get these projects, right? Mm-hmm. And they're buying at insanely low cap rates, and then they have to go to a lender and try to get financing for that, when lenders' thresholds generally 1.2. Right. And there's some wiggle room based on a lot of different things, but
what the lender's going to do if you don't make their ratios, they just keep cutting back the loan amount until you do make it. Yeah. And before you know it, you're putting down 50%.
Yeah, because most lenders, they're gonna look at they'll have a loan to value, a standard loan to value for the asset class, right? And then the value that they apply that percentage to, so say it's 75%, right, on a large multifamily, the value that they apply 75% to is going to be the lesser of the purchase price, the appraised value, right, or the sale price or purchase price in the last 12 months. Okay. Right.
Okay, so if you bought it 8 months ago and want to come back and refinance, they're going to say, well, no, you just bought it for less. Yeah. They don't do that with the residential side. So So they won't give it to you, even if you appraise way higher, they won't give it to you? They won't give you the
generally
higher.
That's like a rule of thumb. Yeah.
Okay.
At least where I work.
With BMO.
Yeah. So, but what I'm trying to say though is that there's going to be one is a cash flow test, right? And that's the debt servicing. Right. Yeah. So they'll apply that 1.2 multiple to the income and just work it backwards.
Yeah, they'll figure this is the most mortgage we'll give you. So it's not specifically that they're pulling back to a certain loan to value. They're just pulling back until you now meet the 1.2 debt coverage.
Exactly, right?
Yeah. So for anyone who's not following this super easily right now, go to my website and grab the cash flow sheet. It actually calculates debt coverage ratio, so you can actually see that
and that's an
with it.
excellent sheet that you've put together there.
Thank you. Yeah. So I mean, I know banks have their own internal one, but back when I worked in commercial sort of underwriting in this office with Pro Funds, I kind of perfected the sheet they were working with. I'm like, okay, this is what we're going to send. Yeah. So as a broker, you would send it to the bank, and still as an investor too, right? If you're applying if you're dealing directly with the bank, you still want to prepare your numbers in a sheet and send it off to the bank. Yep. If you're trying to get commercial lending, and they're going to come back and they're going to apply their own.
So I would have my own spreadsheet.
Yeah, like in the bank will have their own number. They'll say like $800 a door or $500 a door for maintenance. Like they have set numbers. So every bank's a little bit different in terms of what specific numbers they're going to apply.
Yeah, we'll have like percentage guidelines for different things. But this is why it kind of goes back to what I was saying about the true calculation of NOI. Because if someone's marketing the property an NOI figure that isn't real, someone's going to have to go to the bank, and the bank's going to apply an 8% vacancy. They're going to apply a 4% structural reserve, a 4% maintenance, right?
Yeah. Okay. So
not 8% vacancy, 8% management. Sorry.
8% management.
Market
exactly.
vacancy. Right.
They're going to do like CMHC vacancy rates. They're going to do all that stuff. So it's one thing, like, and what I do on this show is I calculate returns for my use, how I look at the property. I know that the bank doesn't necessarily care about what I'm doing here, but if I was submitting it to the bank, I would set it all up correctly.
Exactly.
But my argument to a realtor who's got something overlisted, I might have said this a couple of years ago. Now I'm just wasting my breath. But but the bank won't give me 75%. The nice part of that is, I mean, there are only so many investors out there that can afford to put 50% down on something. So if something is seemingly overpriced, this is where people who understand private money and can come in and increase the rents in the interim can actually really win. So knowledge is power in this case, is well, if it's applied knowledge.
Yeah. So like a good example of that is Mitchell and I, we have an upcoming project in Simcoe. It's I don't know if we have time to get into.
Yeah. I mean, give me the nuts and bolts.
Yeah. It's okay. So it's a 8 unit office space right now, 10,000 square foot building.
Okay. So it's all offices?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's severely under rented, and the tax bill is insane, and it's just not being managed properly. So the issue with that is that if we were trying to finance based on the income on that, the income each year is $5,000. Right.
A year,
the net income.
Not monthly.
No, the net income is like $5,000.
Oh wow!
Because it's 50% vacant, extremely under rented, and the landlord currently is spending $30,000 in tax and not pushing that onto any of the tenants. Right.
Right. So your play would be you go in using private money or alternative financing where people will look at the asset value and say, I understand you can't service right now, but you're working towards something.
Exactly.
The bank is not in that business. They want the rented asset that's ready to go, that's cash flowing, and it can service itself.
So and it can be like, I think we might be looking at Meridian for this because they like to play in the construction space.
So they'll finance your construction.
Yeah, they'll finance the construction with an acknowledgement that the current rents aren't representative of what's going to be happening going forward, right?
Yeah.
But it's about, and that's where you can win at a 3.5 cap on the purchase, right? Is having a plan for how to kind of increase the NOI, right?
It's the name of the game. Yeah. And if you understand your cap rates, go work it backwards. Like if you know that market is at a 4 cap, well, if you can add $100 a month in income, that's $30,000 on the value.
Yeah.
Yeah, so every dollar you are adding to income actually makes a difference, and I love when you can break down values into a mathematical formula like that. It makes it real a lot more straightforward.
And that's the name of the game with commercial. Honestly, is valuations are
really based
always
on
based on income.
Appraiser's going to look at it the same way. They're going to say, what are your rents? And the appraiser is going to give you a more favorable because they use what you can get as rent as part of the justification for their value.
Well, exactly, right? And there is a comparable component to when they are doing income valuations, because the typical way that appraisers reach a cap rate to apply is based on a comparable cap rate method, right?
Right, yeah.
So they'll look at what comparable commercial properties are selling for, like what their cap rate is that they're selling for, and then they'll establish a cap rate for that area. So for instance, the property that we're looking at there, I just happen to know that the current cap rate in that market is about 7%.
For commercial retail.
For commercial office space.
Office space, okay.
Now that cap rate's going to improve a little bit because we're actually converting the second floor into residential. right?
Okay, so there's a better cap rate for that.
Yeah.
And you've already worked this out with the municipality. They're good with it?
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's in a community business development zone downtown.
They want environmental studies to convert it?
The lender will probably want to phase
So you're going to have to get
one.
into that.
We're
So you're
probably
hoping
going
for just a phase one.
Yeah, the building occupies basically 95% of the lot. So, and the rest is concrete. And I doubt that there's any historical uses there that would have compromised the...
So if there's no reason to believe there's any further contaminants, they would just say air test. If there's no known visible or no air test substances that they're worried about, they'll just say, okay.
Yeah.
Or do they even do the air test in phase one?
I'm not 100% sure, actually.
I think they do.
I think they would because it's non-invasive.
Yeah, because phase one, so for anyone wondering, environmental is something the lender requires because they want to make sure that they're not buying something that's contaminated or lending
against.
Yeah, because then it has a compromised value. So in the municipalities, when you convert use, they'll also want it. They'll require you to do a test to make sure you're not poisoning residential tenants or anything like that.
Well, exactly, right? Yeah. And it's a good thing to, and I say this to my clients too, if they're buying a building, right, is it's a good thing to just get the phase one done because of the nature of liability with environmental contamination, right? It's one thing that like a corporation doesn't protect you from, like directors can be responsible. Of corporations can be responsible.
If you didn't exercise a duty of care.
Exactly.
You want to have good insurance.
And it doesn't matter if you were the person
that
did it either. If it's a previous owner three owners ago, right? It's still your responsibility to clean it up.
Right.
Because you own the property right now. And this is why lenders take a very serious approach to environmental due diligence, is because if they have a charge over the property and you were to default on the mortgage, they have to take possession of that property then.
Yeah, and then they're liable.
And if the property's dirty, the lender could just have a dirty property on their hands. That's not worth anything, right? I know of properties where lenders just haven't exercised their right to take over the property. Yeah. Because it's so
they're worried about
it's so dirty.
So they just let it go.
They just wrote it off.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Right?
I've never heard of that, but that does make sense. Just not to get too far down the rabbit hole here, because I know we've gotten into nuts and bolts, and I think this is so valuable. But just to recap, so the benefit of people taking this commercial financing route, so you're still in the big banks, but you're dealing with different people. They're not in the residential retail side of things. It's probably a phone number that you're going to call, somebody that you're going to get referred to. You're going to speak with them. And now all of a sudden, they're more looking at you for net worth and competency. They're treating you like a business. They're looking at the assets and how they produce, and they're going to secure on those assets. But now it's no longer 5 properties max, 10 properties max. It's as long as you can meet these guidelines, it's as many as you want, and as long as you're competent as a borrower manager. Exactly.
Like banks want to see that you're capable of doing what you say you're going to do, right? They want to see a good track record, right? Most Schedule A banks aren't super interested in construction financing, and if they are, it's pretty tedious to go through, with progress draws and whatnot. But if you're a successful operator that has a strong track record, if you want to just keep purchasing properties, then they're going to support you through that.
Yeah, for instance, like they might do construction lending under commercial, and if they saw me apply, they'd say, "Well, you have a track record in construction. You clearly know what you're doing here." So, they're more inclined to deal with me because of my track record. So it's not like you'd never get to ask those questions buying a rental property in the bank. But that's where it starts to change. But as real estate investors, this is a business, and I think that the sooner we realize, hey, there's many different financing options, we need to have them in our toolkit. And that's one of them. I really do think so.
Yeah, it's important to be aware of everything that you have access to, and then also know when to use it, right? Because if you're purchasing a property that you're buying at a 3.5 cap, right, and you plan on turning it over and whatnot, your first avenue of financing likely isn't going to be a Schedule I bank. Right. It's probably going to be an alternative lender. That is going to get on board with the fact that you're buying it at a negative cash flow from day one, right?
But they know that you're capable and you're going to do it.
You're going to be turning it, and then you're able to transition over.
Where do people reach you if they want to follow up with you?
So you can reach me on Instagram. It's Austin, AUSTIN .Mulder, MULDER. And then through there, you can also find our M&A property investments Instagram page.
Okay.
So that's kind of where we post what Mitchell and I are
Cool.
getting up to. Been a little slow on Instagram lately. Work has been very busy, and as well as all the projects that are going on. But yeah, if you reach out to me, I love talking about everything real estate. So I'm always available to anyone that has any questions.
Cool, man. Yeah, it'd be interesting to check out some of those photos. I haven't taken a look recently. I've been bad with my Instagram. So anyways, I need to like post.
I know. It's the issue is making sure that what I'm doing on Instagram is productive.
Yeah, I know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so we've got your handle. Anything else you'd want to share, kind of parting wisdom here before we wrap up?
Focus on growing your network, finding good mentors, and reading a lot, right?
Yeah.
Listen to Andrew's podcast. Everything that you put out has so much value in it with all the guests that you're bringing out, and it's super valuable because it's local. So if you're investing in the Ontario area, then it's a no-brainer. You should be listening to it every week.
Cool, man. Well, thanks for the support. Appreciate it. All right. Well, I appreciate you coming over today.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. Please make sure to share this episode far and wide. Help it help more people. I really appreciate you tuning in. Thanks. I'll see you on the next one. Hey guys, I just wanted to take a moment and give a shout out to a couple of very important local businesses to me. As you know, this lockdown has been tough on everyone, and small businesses have been taking the brunt of it. So there's two specific businesses I wanted to give a shout out to. This is a completely unpaid promotion. They didn't ask me to do this, but I wanted to give them a shout out because I think they're really important and I want to see them be successful. So one is New York Men's Grooming Lounge here in Burlington, Ontario. I always see Sergio every month. They do a fantastic job. Their atmosphere there is fantastic. There's usually some Frank Sinatra playing in the background. They're a great establishment, even if you just want to go in and have an espresso or have a beer and chat. It really is a lounge and social location, which is just such a unique concept in today's market. Really like those guys. I really want to see them succeed. If you're looking for a fantastic men's haircut and grooming experience, I highly recommend them. The next one I wanted to give a shout out to is Dr. Mike White over at the Momentum Health Clinic in Hamilton. Dr. Mike has been able to help me many times over the years when I've hurt my back. He's a chiropractor, so I'd be in a position where I couldn't even walk, I couldn't turn. I was in an agonizing pain, and I'd go to Dr. Mike, and usually I'm 100% better within a week. Now, I know it's a touchy thing with a medical service, so always consult with your medical professional before seeking any form of treatment. I just wanted to let you know my experience here, and I certainly think Mike White is worth considering. I've included the details for both of these contacts in my show notes. Please show them support if you see fit. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.